6 figures of your tax money, and you're entitled to talk to me at 9 o'clock at night if that's what you need to do.
I'd just like to add to that, which I completely agree, and that is to be out in the community, holding town meetings with the people and allowing them to express. I might not even agree with you, but I have to respect your opinion, and I also have to listen to you, because that's part of my job. The other part is that I would create a time in the meeting where citizens can come up and just speak. It's like you have to have a dissertation and an act of Congress to allow somebody to have something on an agenda. And that's ridiculous. You're a citizen, you have a right to speak. This isn't England.
Thank you, Alex.
I did approach the Commissioners Court back in February over the issue of a place on the agenda for the public to come forward. That is a basic right of the individual to breathe, if you would, before those that represent them. And there is not a place on the agenda called Citizens to be Heard or Call to the Public that allows you a set amount of time to come and talk collectively amongst the 5 elected officials that govern our county. And it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. And most other counties have it. Go look and Google other agendas and you will see a call to the public, and we should have it too.
I think we all agree on that point.
Boys, get back up here again, please. I made up one as we went along here because you made a statement a while ago. I thought I'd ask a question off of it.
Making statements if you're making up questions.
All right, you mentioned that we needed some infrastructure over in Precinct 3 that we don't have now. And I want you to just tell us what it is that's missing there. Now, I come from a time when all the county roads just about in Ellis County were gravel. So what are these missing infrastructure pieces?
I'm not going to limit it to Precinct 3. You know, we've got issues related to drainage. We've got our core conservation lakes for drainage that have not been maintained since they were built. There are contracts out there with Corps of Engineers or with cities that says the county will maintain them. There's no money to maintain them. And, you know, that's part of the problem. We have issues relating to infrastructure where we have bottlenecks. How many locations outside of Ellis County are there stoplights on 287? You know, there's got to be a collective process. There's got to be a representation from Ellis County where there are funding sources to put infrastructure in, and I'm talking whether it's the bypass that is long overdue being completed in Ennis, or whether it's overpasses in Midlothian, and you know, drainage, those sorts of things. We have got to identify those and then find funding that will not affect taxpayers in order to resolve those issues.
Well, that'd be a good trick, wouldn't it?
Amen.
Well, I would add one thing. We pay a lot of taxes to the state in various ways. And, you know, there's nothing, we should not be ashamed to go to the state and tell them we want some of our money back for our county. And that's how you can fund some of those things.
Yeah, and quite frankly, we don't have the relationships with the North Central Texas Council of Governments or TxDOT to do that. And all of that money's going up north, friends. I mean, all of it's going up there in McKinney and Plano and Denton County. And it's time that we have representatives with those organizations that can promote and influence those individuals to spend some money down here.
Jimmy, was gravel a new invention back then?
Oh, I've been around. Some of us thought it was. Okay, we got the Precinct 1 candidate.
Well, we talked about this a little bit, but I don't think you got into it that much. What is your position on tax incentives for businesses?
Tax incentives for businesses. I don't see that where we need to give them a tax incentive. If I'm reading the question right, you got businesses that come. If you're a mom and pop business, hey, so be it. But if you're a multi-million-dollar business corporation, why do you need an incentive? All you're doing is taking away from this county, the taxpayers of this county. A lot of people don't understand when we give tax abatements and we bring big business in, most of these people that come in don't always come in from our cities and work into these places. They go into multi-family dwellings, apartments. Apartments do two things. I lived in Dallas the biggest part of my life and worked there nearly all of my life. What happens to an apartment complex after 20 years? It goes to heck, doesn't it? The people who own it don't live here. They live who knows, China, California, who cares where they live? They don't live here. And the taxes that are paid are minimal. And the money that is spent by these people goes into the cities, and the cities get sales tax revenue from the state. Counties do not. We get absolutely nothing. We get this much from the taxes they pay on that property. So I don't see where incentives to bring people in here good. The incentive is to be in Waxahachie. That's the place to live. If you want to have good growth, you come here. We'll support your businesses, but I don't think we need to take and give anybody the incentive to come here and start a business.
Well, friendly question to Bob, rather than me answer it, because I don't know your background, Bob. You answered that question based on your experience. Not that all people that live in apartments are bad.
No.
But your experience is what, Bob?
Well,
what have you done?
They run down. They run down and I take
What's
care.
your personal experience, your career experience?
Well, I was deputy sheriff for 28 years in Dallas County, and a third of Dallas County is apartments. Some of them are real nice. Some of them need to be torn down. They turn into bad places, sell dope out of. And I worked in narcotics for 12 years. So I know what I'm talking about there. People who live in apartments aren't bad people. What I'm talking about is people who come in and live here. We don't get tax revenue from them per se. We get tax revenue off the little bit of property that they're living in. Apartment people, hey, I've got kids that live in apartments. Have been. I've lived in apartments. Not proud of it, but I have. Had to, you know. But you have to understand that apartments and things like that don't bring real revenue to our county. Time's up.
The rebuttal doesn't have anything to do with apartments. I too want absolutely minimal apartments out here. We should always have more renters than we have apartments. You keep them up, you're going to have a lot more money spent on maintenance and upkeep than you would if they're struggling to have cash flow. One of the issues, though, that I still have to address, and we'll use the bought industries, for instance, engineers out there, which they will have hundreds of engineers. Their average pay is over $60,000 a year. Those are good paying jobs, and that abatement rolls off in 7 years. So you've got to look at the long-term benefits as well. You can't be short-sighted because it'll end up hurting you in the end.
Thank you. Those guys, go ahead.
The one thing I would add about Bob, if that's the Red Oak plant, right?
It is, correct.
That was property that Red Oak owned for the most part, and it was off the tax rolls. And in those situations, yes, I think most reasonable people agree with abatements. But so many of the abatements the county has granted over the years have come back and hit us right in the forehead with a sledgehammer when those manufacturers have either downsized or moved out of the county.
I'd like to know who they are, because I know that it's not happened in Midlothian. I don't know of any industry that's been abated in Midlothian that's left. Maybe other areas of the county, but can you give me 2 or 3, Paul?
Well, one of the major...
Wait. I think we're ready to move on to a different section.
All right, the section we're going to move on to is the real Tea Party. That's you guys out there, gals. You get to ask questions now. If you'll hold your hand up, you can ask questions to whomever you want to address up here at this table. So, okay, let's see some hands here, Tea Partiers. All right, here we go.
Is there enough slack there? Yeah.
I have a question for Boyce. You mentioned that we don't have good representation or good relationships with the North Texas Council of Governments. What do you think is the problem with that, and how do you suggest we solve that?
Well, it's difficult to say. I mean, I don't know and can't tell you that we have no relationship with those individuals, but there seems to be a coalition, if you would, of individuals that serve in those capacities, and oftentimes they're officers with corporations in, for instance, North Dallas. We don't have representation south of Dallas that is able to garner the influence necessary to bring projects down here. Now, I can tell you we have had some success
in recent with North Central Texas Council of Governments with the agreement that they will complete the access roads on 67. What we have found at the city is we've got to dangle a carrot out there for either NCT-COG or TxDOT in order to get them to bite off on the project. In this particular project, we incented by handing them $2 million for the engineering on it. They agreed then to pick up the balance.
Anybody else want to answer? Okay. Who else got a question?
Right here.
I have a question.
Who are you?
I'm TJ.
You're addressing it to...
Well, 3 of y'all are running to be my commissioner, and then I'll let Bob answer the question too. But I'd like an answer from all 3 of the people running to be my commissioner in precinct 3. Are you familiar with the emergency management plan for the county and the fact that under that plan, the county commissioners gave themselves authority to basically stop all sales and transport of firearms in the county in the case of an emergency, if there's an emergency declared in this county? Are you aware of that, and do you agree with it? If you don't, what do you intend to do about it?
I'll go ahead and start that because you know, that plan was presented to me for a signature along with other mayors, and I asked the emergency planning coordinator how this had been worked out, who had been involved with our cities, because it involves public works, it involves finance, it involves you know, law enforcement. There are a whole number of cadres or departments that are involved in emergency services. And it was not washed through local governance, if you would. We were, though, kind of handcuffed because there were dollars tied to having that emergency services plan in place, that we would not be able to qualify for emergency funds and this sort of things unless the plan had been in place. And part of that was, you know, changes that took place after 9/11. I had it washed through the departments. All of them provided comments and issues relating to it, with a promise that they would be working through the plan and would have a proposal by June to be readdressed from the city's level. But at any rate, I do think there's far overstepping elements to it, and I'm sure Paul has a comment or two.
Thank you, TJ, for, and that question was actually answered in one of the first forums to the sheriff and constable, whether they would carry out that executive order, and I think that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard in my life. And it's just a great example of complete overreach on the government and also not listening to the citizens. And hopefully when we have an emergency that we're all working together, and I've seen problems happen or situations happen with weather and so on and so forth, and all these people in this great county have gotten together and worked together. And I sure hope that if I ever saw that, I would just completely reject it. I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard in my life. So thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's my 490-page emergency order that evidently Mayor Boyce Watley signed. And in that sucker, it suspends your right in an emergency to share gasoline with your neighbor, with your kids, because it basically cuts you off. You cannot share firearms or ammunition, according to this, with even members of your household necessarily, certainly your extended family. And it determines which businesses can stay open and which have to close. And on about 18 items, if memory serves, it might be more, they can set prices. Now, we have state law that deals with gouging. This allows your commissioner's court, and I think in some cases just your county judge or your mayor, to set prices on charcoal briquettes, gasoline, any number of things you might need in an emergency. My rights are not for sale. I bet y'all feel the same way. My natural rights come from God, and I will sell my goods, and I will maintain my right to own firearms, and I will give my daughter gasoline if she needs it, no matter what this says.
How do you follow that?
You applaud.
Well, you just take everybody's thunder, don't you? You know, Homeland Security has come out with the biggest bunch of bull. They're costing this country thousands, millions of dollars every day. Now, 9/11 was a bad thing. We all know that. But for us to come through, and I guarantee you, that right there was given to the district attorney's office. They thumbed through it, never read it, and don't know what's in it. I'll guarantee you. I don't know whose name, I haven't seen it. We have to take and remember that there are 7 counties that are around Ellis. And if the commissioners, this is what's asinine. Let them put it in here. All I have to do is go to one of these 7 counties around me and buy what I want. So what good does it do to have it? That's what you have to think about. Unless you take in all of North Texas or something along that lines, this is an asinine deal. Thank you.
How you gonna get the gasoline to get those 7 counties? No, I'm just kidding.
I hold it.
Is there a follow-up for this section?
Yeah, if you want.
And I'll be brief, but you know, the federal government has too much of its hand in not only our pockets, but it keeps us, if you would, from exercising what we feel is best judgment. Every single mayor and every single county judge must be NIMS qualified. I went through a 2-day class that I had to pass, fail. It was a difficult class in order to qualify for federal aid if there is a catastrophic emergency in your city or your county. It's like they handcuff you. If you don't do it, you're not going to get the federal aid. And it's a tough place to be. And the only reason and way that I signed that is for our city to have committed to readdressing this and revising it.
I think what we ought to do here is finish out this, because I know that this is a kind of a hot button for everyone, and so if anyone else has any other comments, and I think Paul does.
You know, I think some of this stuff is really important, and I think if once we get done with our meeting, I would like to suggest an open forum after the meeting and let it continue on this stuff, because I've got questions I want to ask on this stuff.
We'll do that.
There's one thing I wanted to say regarding that. Cindy Kelly,
Well, you're gonna let Paul.
with the Ellis County Tea Party, about the emergency management. I don't know about y'all, but I would much rather us get no money from the federal government than give up our rights.
Cindy, you stole my thunder. What I wanted to ask I want to ask y'all something. Do y'all think George Washington would have signed this?
No,
Yes or no?
No.
Do you think Patrick Henry would have signed this?
No.
Would Sam Houston have signed this? No. Paul Perry wouldn't have signed this.
Question.
Hal Maples, and would like to hear from all 4 candidates their reply. It was mentioned a while ago about North Texas Council of Governments, and they were talking about growth. I'd like to know their opinion about mass transit, because North Texas Council of Governments, that's their big push. They would like to bring mass transit to the southern sector. How do they feel about mass transit?
We're just gonna go right down the road.
I'm not real keen on it. And that's about all I got to say about mass transit.
I know that there's a couple of corridors that have been studied. It's way premature for Ellis County. I would not support mass transit.
I spent some time, obviously, in Europe and in China as well, and I've seen both sides of the fence on mass transit. And even in countries now, in England and Germany, where it used to be state-run, is now being turned over to private sector because they can't tax the people enough to keep those programs going. So as long as the programs are paid for by private entities and people make money, I'm all for it. But don't be taking money out of us to subsidize other people.
I concur with part of what Alex said. One thing that I have done in this county is I've been fortunate to be appointed as an eminent domain commissioner several times, where you set value on property that different groups want to take, and then if they don't like the value, everybody can appeal to the judge. I see eminent domain abused, and Dart would love to do it. Rodney Ramsey and I went to a meeting one time because we were members of the press, and we listened to Dart do their song and dance about their plans for Ellis County. They wanted to bring that choo-choo train in. Guess what? They were going to use eminent domain to do it, and I think that would bring even more crime out of the Metroplex right now. We are not ready to even consider that, and in general, I oppose mass transit. I think the state takes in plenty of money. TxDOT lost $1 billion of your money. They can't explain where it went. We have enough money for highways in this state. We need highways. We don't need mass transit. You should have the freedom to use your automobile. This isn't Germany, this isn't Luxembourg, and this isn't China, and I think everybody will concur with that. Thank you.
Any questions?
Okay?
Mike Trice, yes, it seems like somewhere along the way, people and the government has forgotten, the citizens are supposed to tell their county officials what they need, and the county officials are supposed to tell the state what they need, and the state is supposed to tell the federal government what they need, and now the federal government tells everybody which way to jump. And what I'm seeing is how, I know this is, you know, we're dealing with county commissioners here, but how do we get our control back in the states for county commissioners all over the state?
Good question.
Start with, kind of, go down.
Well, a couple of things. I know that in my 13 years, there were a number of occasions where I went to Austin and lobbied, if you would, for changes in laws. Eminent domain was one of those where a private railroad wanted to run right through a neighborhood, and they could have under the current law. That was changed to prevent that from happening. They had surveyors out there staking it, if you would. But I don't know, honestly, I cannot tell you if our county judge or judges prior had made those trips to Austin and advocated for good governance and laws that were fair and equitable and would have benefited the taxpayers here. I can't tell you that because I don't know. But, you know, based on what I see, there's not a lot of interaction between our county judge and the legislature. And there needs to be a good relationship there.
Y'all may not like my answer. Y'all need to get off your hind legs and put better people in those positions. And that includes the legislature, the Congress, and includes the county commissioner's office. The fact is, who is the best funded candidate is not necessarily who ought to be there. Often your best funded candidate is the one that is most beholden to special interests or the good old boy network. We need to stop that as voters. I believe I'm a guy who will do that job at the local level, and I'll push the envelope. But we need better representation across the board. People up here are probably afraid to say some of that, but y'all need to go out, and we need some major changes in this county, in this country, and in this state.
I would say that it starts the 29th of May. It starts now. It starts with us getting these commissioners rotated out, our judges. It starts with changing our Senate, our Congress. It's got to start. It's got to start now. And the Tea Party has been a fantastic, I mean, I think you guys hit this country right upside the head. And I'm proud to be part of it. And we need to take our government back, and it has to start tonight. We've got to tell everybody to go down and vote. These are all fantastic people here, but we've got to get those people out. That's it, bottom line.
Well, here again, how do you follow that? Because they've said just exactly what we need to do. Get off of our cans and go vote on the 29th and get rid of these career politicians that we have throughout the state and the federal government. And let's bring some good people in, and then we can, to answer your question, Mr. Treese, that's how we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to do it ourselves and run these other guys off and put some people in there who will work with all the way down the ladder.
You guys had some good questions. That's what the Tea Party's about. We have good questions. So we're going to go to a new phase here, but I did have one, since I'm a Tea Party member myself, I have one, yes, I want a yes or no out of each one of you on this one. Is that's a heck, I had one admirer back there on that. The North Central Texas Council of Government, is that an elected, are they elected to that council? Are they elected by people?
Generally, there's a slate of candidates that are presented to the elected officials, and they choose from that.
So that's a no.
I would say they're not elected from the people, absolutely, they're not. Do we have closing comments at all?
Do we have time for closing comments?
We do. Okay,
Yeah.
2 minutes?
So I think y'all all agreed on that the North Central Texas Council of Government likes to lay down the law to little old Ellis County sometimes, and all we get to do is go up there and nod like this. Paul?
Jimmy, it's kind of like your municipal judges that are generally appointed by your local city government. They are distanced from the people, much like a municipal judge is distanced from the people. They are selected by people you've elected, but you do not directly elect these people.
Right.
They need to go away.
Absolutely.
All right, now closing comments.
Let's go ahead and start, Paul, if you'll start.
2 minutes, 15 seconds, they get the yellow.
How do you start?
Wait.
You gotta teach me how to work this thing.
Start.
You know, it's been years since I've run track. You should learn a lot. And I wasn't very good when I did it. I would like to take a moment and thank those members of my family that are here. My stepfather, Al Maples. Al, I approve of my stepfather, by the way. This is my mother, Maggie. I have 3 graduates from Baylor University in my family, and I'm not ashamed to say that we homeschooled all of them. I want to recognize Emma, who is, stand up Emma, I know you're shy. Emma is my Phi Beta Kappa chemist who was in the paper recently. Ian, stand up. Ian, who's going to be a constitutional lawyer and is a Baylor graduate, and he's now at Ole Miss. Heather is not here, and she's another one of my Baylor graduates, along with her husband, Chris, and my granddaughter's not here either. It's been a privilege to run this race. I have gotten to reroute myself. There is no way that you can do that as easily as getting a campaign, because people tell you what's wrong with you. They tell you what's right with you. They tell you things that maybe aren't true. They tell you things about what your opponent did in high school. But what this race is really about is who can carry a conservative standard to the Commissioner's Court. Now, I've had the privilege of serving as a state Republican delegate 9 times. I run for state Republican chairman, basically on very little money. We got 37% of the vote against an entrenched incumbent. I think I have a message that carries. My message is limited government at all levels. We have government, it's ordained by God. But we do too much in our governments. We mess with people. We don't consider what we're doing. And I think that number 1, my platform is I'm going to be open to the people. Number 2, no more tax increases in this county. No, I won't vote for them. I won't vote for a budget that requires a tax increase. Your money needs to be in your pocket, and you can do more with it. Number 3, 2 terms only. Thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank all the citizens for coming tonight. It shows a lot that we care. And I've been in this community for a short time. I've been here 5 years, and I just love every minute of it. I've met a lot of wonderful folks, and in this process I've met some fantastic people that are willing to step up. I've met a lot of candidates that are willing to make changes, and it's very, very important that we the people get out there and vote. You tell your people, tell your friends, your neighbors, we've got to take it back. We've lost the confidence, and as far as I'm concerned, it's just too important. And myself, I've been in business for 25 years. I have an undergraduate degree in business from UT Dallas, SMU, master's, and commercial airline pilot, a long time ago. But most of all, somebody that's running on your behalf. And I can promise you this, that everything that we do is going to be shared with you. There will be nothing that won't be shared in a way that you guys will understand what's going on. And I believe that. I'll come to you. If you can't come to me, I will come to you. And thank you all for your time. And it's been an honor to run. It's just a few more days to the end. And obviously, we've been working very, very hard for your vote. I asked for your vote, and I can tell you that I feel very, very confident we're going to be catching these guys. Thank you. God bless.
I'm going to do everything I can to stick around. I've got an 81-year-old father who's got Alzheimer's and he's lost in Oak Cliff. So I asked him to find a restaurant. When this is over, I'll go get him. But I will try and stick around if I can. You know, I have served, and I'm not the incumbent commissioner. I have served for 13 years, and I'm proud of the work that I've done. I honestly am. I have walked the streets and visited over 1,000 houses during this campaign itself. It is a crying shame that we just had 2 elections, Waxahachie and Midlothian, don't know what Innocent Red Oak did, where 6% of the individuals exercised their right to vote. And those 6% control the 94% that were too lazy to get off their tails and get to the polls. I work hard. I work hard, you know, the private entity. I fortunately had an employer who allowed me up to 4 hours a day off to do city business, thank God, because I could not have done it otherwise. I was an engaged mayor, and I'm not easily intimidated. And I tell people like it is. They may not like to hear it. And some people say I shoot too straight, but I'd rather be honest with you and let you know up front. But I'm also willing to listen to you. And I'm looking at options, and I'm looking at alternatives when we can't necessarily find the perfect solution. And that's what's required. My wife can't be here tonight. She's working her second job to help fund my campaign. I've got a son who's in the U.S. Marine Corps. He can't be here because he's serving the country. Got a daughter who's a neuro ICU nurse, and she can't be here because she's working. But I tell you what, I am here and will be your full-time commissioner. I have no other interest, none whatsoever, other than to serve you. I was hired back by AT&T after about a 6-month hiatus after I retired. And again, I retired to run for this job. And I told them that I would have to take off in order to have a successful campaign. When this election's over with, that job goes away. I will not moonlight. I won't be a moonlight commissioner, and I won't be a moonlight consultant. I will be your commissioner, and I'll work full-time for you.
Thank you, boys.
Well, I don't have a college degree, and I've never owned a real business. But let me tell you, I've been a blue-collar worker for 36 years, just like the majority of you people in here. I'm just an everyday guy that wants to see and make a difference. We have to take and consider budget and term limits, and that's what I told you when I first got up. That's all I'm about, budget. We have to learn to live with what we have. If we can't, it's called cut, cut, cut. And we cut till we bleed. That's the only way that we can survive in this county. We've got to keep our taxes down. We just can't go on and on. They're going through, commissioners are going through budget now. We don't know if we're going to have a tax increase or not. Because we're not there with all the behind the door situations. Lower taxes, transparency, and accountability. That's what we need. That's what we don't have. And that's what I hope to bring to Ellis County if I'm elected commissioner in precinct 1. If you haven't seen this and you haven't voted, I would ask you to pick one up outside. And I'd like to thank the Tea Party. I think they've done a great job in bringing this thing together and making people more aware of who needs to be in office and the ones who need to be taken out of office. And here tonight you see me with my sleeves rolled up. I'm here to work.
Wait a minute. Are we turned on here? Yes. All right, that winds up our county commissioner portion of this thing, but don't let them get away without nailing them 2 or 3 more times. Have y'all enjoyed the forum so far?
Did y'all want to hear from the incumbent? I was in Midlothian today. That's all I could find of it.
All right, kind of like that old train out at Six Flags. Commissioners, get off. That's why Both commissioners from 1 and 3, where we have races this year, were invited to come tonight, and for various reasons, they could not make it.
One had a son's wedding, the other never responded at all, and you can guess who that might have been.
Well, tell us.
Heath Sims never responded at all, and Dennis Robinson's son is having a bachelor party or something tonight, something having to do with getting married.
All right, now, I would like all of the county DA, county Republican chairman race candidates. Come forward, please.
Yeah, Maurice didn't show up. So we just get there.
Another no-show. Well, you know, I did maybe it's not a good thing.
He's not.
Disregard that.
He's not the incumbent.
All right, you ready to nail him?
Yeah, we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Why don't you just
Open statement.
Opening statement. All right, now let's settle down back there. I'm on the clock here. I'm Dan Davis. I'm running for re-election as your county chair. I'm another one of those incumbents that would like to have a chance. Dan, you gotta pick it up. Now can you hear me? Okay.
You need your gavel?
Put it back up.
Hey, we're burning the clock here, guys. Hey, start it over. Oh, all right. Anyway, I'm running for re-election. I came from this organization. I won the chair 2 years ago. When I took over, it was rather anemic. They were having a problem making quorums. I think we've done a good job of increasing donations, of making our quorums, and I think we have a healthier party today than we had a couple of years ago. The reason I want to be re-elected is because the job's not done. We still haven't made all the connections we need to at the grassroots level. And there's a fellow up in Washington, D.C., I want to get out of work. And so I'm hoping you'll give me a chance to finish that job. And I'll, since there's only one of me, I'll go ahead and take my questions, I guess.
All right, now I'm going to modify this question a little bit. We had a rumor running around the last week or so referring to the Waxahachie machine. And I guess if there's a Waxahachie machine, there's probably a Midlothian machine and an Ennis machine and maybe even a Red Oak machine. What is one of those?
What's a machine?
A political machine.
A political machine.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, a political machine, I guess, that's kind of an unusual question, is when your long-term incumbents and people who have been in the political arena for a long period of time build up relationships and build up networks, and then they begin to dictate to the voters exactly who should get what office and what they should do with it. And that's my vision of what a political machine is.
Ask him a tougher one.
As county chair, you work directly with the precinct chairs. How do you intend to motivate the current precinct chairs and help them with the job of teaching those that live in their precinct?
That's an excellent question. If I'm given the opportunity to do this for another couple of years, I have a plan. We're looking at, and it's not all firm yet, but we're looking at the possibility of redirecting some of the funds that we're currently using for our headquarters after the election, and putting a stipend out there for each of our zones. Our zones is something that I originated. We found that our precinct chairs have a hard time walking their precincts. You feel awful lonely when it's just you out there and you're knocking on doors, and a lot of people really don't even want to talk to you when you do that. So we felt like we could be more successful if we put them in zones. So we have 4 zones. Each zone has a leader and consists of about 10 precincts. And hopefully by putting them in a group, they can do something in their geographic area that they wouldn't be able to do alone to work their precincts. That seemed to be one of the weak points. It hasn't done as well as I wanted it to, mainly because I feel like we didn't support them financially. So I'm looking at several different plans of ways that we can give them stipends to put some money in their hands so they can
print up literature to do the door knocking, so they can have events, go around to different community groups within their zone, and we have to get our grassroots working because the party is weak. We have way too many rhinos that need to be gotten rid of, and the only way we get there is by having critical mass, by having enough people that are participating in our process and are going to cleanse the party of some of our negative influence. He's grabbing the red paddle, so I'll go on to the next question.
If elected, would you be willing to publicly pledge to serve no more than 2 consecutive terms in office? Why or why not? Why or why not? I can't say it. Why or why not?
I've already said I'm term limited. This will be my last term if I'm able to get it. And the reason for that isn't because I don't want to be chair. It isn't because I plan on going away anywhere. I think that for your county chair, you need someone who has fresh ideas, someone who will get out there and do his best to try to get our precinct chairman working, and that will be the face of the Republican Party in the county. And one thing I don't want to turn into is one of these career politicians. That's what I rail the most about. And so I think the proper thing is to work a couple of terms and then find something else to do. Who knows, maybe I'll come back here to the Tea Party and help you guys out some.
Ellis County is obviously primarily and mostly Republican county anyway, but what do you see as the 2 most significant challenges facing what you have coming up, what your office is in the next couple of years?
Oh, our greatest challenge by far is the public. As we speak today, as through the end of voting yesterday, 2,500 people have voted early in the Republican primary. Only 300 and some odd have voted on the Democratic side. One of the things the Tea Party did so well at the beginning was to get the general public aroused to the problem we were in. Unfortunately, they've fallen back into their doldrums, and it's not just incumbent on the party, it's incumbent on the Tea Party to get these people woke up again. We're going to have a lot of key issues to talk about during the rest of this calendar year. We can't afford to have elections where 3% of our people turn out to vote.
Amen.
That is wrong. And how do you stop that? Well, you've got to have the party doing everything it can, and you've got to have the Tea Party doing the same. I'm not asking you to walk lockstep behind the Republican Party. Lord knows they have their problems. We've got way too many rhinos, way too many moderates in there that aren't willing to stand up and be counted and defend our liberties, and we need to wash them out of the party. But in politics, everything's numbers. We've got to show up. We need to fill our executive committee here in the county with good citizens who understand what this election is going to be about. To me, that can be loosely interpreted as Tea Partiers. But I am not going to leave it just there, because there are a lot of good conservatives who may not show up to your meetings, but they are good conservatives. We can't have those people sitting on the bench. We just can't. That's our biggest problem. I've tried really hard, and I'm still learning. I mean, we've tried things, they haven't worked, we're trying other things. I think the Tea Party's doing the same thing. But we've got to find that magic button. We've got to get the public involved, because till they're involved, our liberties are at risk.
My name is John Perkins, and I live in Red Oak, and I'm going to kind of piggyback off that question. I've got an 18-year-old daughter that's voting for the first time. I look around, and I don't see many 18-year-olds here. What would be your message to younger voters to bring in that new generation so that we can get away from the apathy that's plaguing most of the public?
Well, they've got to understand that this is their future. That's the reason I got in politics in the first place, because I have children and grandchildren, and I refused to turn over the country that the Democrats want to turn over to our children. I just absolutely refuse to do that. But you know, I'm getting up in years, and we've got to get our young people involved, and they've got to understand that they have a self-interest in this. And this is their liberties. It's their debt that's being piled on their heads. I'll be long gone before a lot of the decisions that are being made today ever affect them. but they have to be told repetitively that it's their future. And we're trying our best to help fix a situation we messed up. My generation messed it up. I'm sorry. A lot of you my age out there, we messed it up. Okay, but it's not too late to fix it.
Would you also tell him about what your idea was with all of the student clerks, high school clerks, what we're doing this year on the Republican Party?
Yeah, this is one of our problems. I'm trying to find volunteers to work our elections, because in our county now, after redistricting, we have 49 precincts. And that means 49 precincts, actually we're going to vote 33 precincts. Some of them are combined. But in 33 precincts, we've got to have a judge, we've got to have an alternate, we've got to have 2 clerks, and we've got to have someone, preferably a clerk, that's bilingual. So we've approached the high schools. And in fact, let me see, everybody but who? Which city was it? Waxahachie, right?
We won't mention that.
We won't mention that. Okay, I will. Everybody in Waxahachie's coughed up some kids for us. And some of them are bilingual. That does 2 things. It helps us get over our volunteer gap that we have to run the election, but it also gets our young people involved. I think once they get into it and realize that it's not, magic, this is just hard work, they'll realize that they have a place. Put yourself in their shoes. If an 18-year-old walked in here, well, we got one in here, I know. He's going to be one of our delegates at state. But if they walk into a room here, you got to understand they're going to feel pretty uncomfortable, because look at the age here, right? But it only takes getting a few. It only takes a handful where they can feel comfortable when they come to our meetings and they get involved. Then we can start amassing a future army, which is what we're going to need. These leftists, these Marxists, oh, I could go on and on. It took 50 years for them to try to foist socialism on us as a country, but they're on the verge of success. It may take 50 years for us to build a standing army of concerned young people who will fight to regain the liberties we squandered. And so I think we've got to get them into it. Sorry, I get on my soapbox.
Dan, you made a comment there a while ago. Oh, back here in the corner. You made a comment, and I'm going to try to quote it. You said we cannot have those good conservatives sitting on the bench. As a judge, I'm a conservative.
Okay, you got me on that one. Okay.
Sitting on the sideline.
I would have said sitting on something else, but we've already been there tonight.
By the way, Dan, about us aged people, we're kind of like wine. The best wine is the old wine.
Well, that's true.
Unless it goes south.
As long as you keep cork in it.
I just wanted to say something really quick, because a lot of you aren't aware of what the chairman does or what is all involved in that. But I want to tell you, I've been a precinct chair now for 4 years, so I've seen it before Dan was chairman and then after Dan became chairman. And he's just done an awesome job. He's fought an uphill battle in some ways, because there are some people in the executive committee who do not want to change. They want to keep things the way that they are. And for him to come in and have to work with people like that and being able to agree and make things work for the good of everybody that's there, he just does an awesome job, and you all need to know that about Dan. And he's not going to say this, but the person who's running against Dan, the only reason he said that he's running is because everybody should have a choice. That was it. He didn't have any other reason to say. So, and he didn't come here tonight to say he was going to. So, anyway, I just wanted to say that about Dan. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
All right, who else? Come on, Tea Party.
Somebody's got to have a hard question out there. Oh, here's Amy. I'll get one now. I'll get one now.
Hey, I just wanted to comment about the 18-year-olds. How many delegates do we have going to state that are under the age of 20, Dan?
One.
No, I thought we had at least a couple more, like 19.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We had 3.
I take it back. We got 3.
I was going to say, I knew we had about 3 kids, 18, 19, and 19 that are going, so.
Stand up, Alex.
I wish we could. There he is. I believe I'm correct in saying he's the youngest delegate we've ever sent to the state convention. So. That's an accomplishment on Alex's part. Yeah. Give him a hand.
Yeah.
All right, I've run out of these tough questionnaires. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you for being here, Dan.
That's always. Well, we have one candidate here tonight for county attorney, district attorney. Rodney Pat Ramsey, would you come up, please?
So that can be Mr. Wilson's hat now, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Can everybody hear me without the microphone? Because I don't like the microphone. Most of you know me. I'm running for county and district attorney in Ellis County. I want the job. I think we need a new county and district attorney, and I think I can do a better job than the guy we have now. Quite simply, I believe in a more open government than he does. I believe in full disclosure, and obviously he doesn't. And I can save the taxpayers some money in that regard and ensure that we get some fair and just treatment in the courts. There's a lot of things that need to be changed in Ellis County, and the time for change is now. This county's been locked up by the establishment forever. We've had a political appointment wheel that's turned, and there have been 4 or 5 people that have been appointed to 2 or 3 different offices over the last 20 years. We've had 7 or 8 elected offices filled by appointed officials that the people have never had the opportunity to vote on. And of course, once they get in there, they have the I behind their name, and the citizens continue to vote for them regardless of their record or their opinions. And half of those people were registered Democrats before they switched parties in the 80s. So we've got a problem with the people that we have in office. We have people that call themselves Republican conservatives that are neither Republican or a conservative. And the Tea Party has the opportunity to make a change. I've asked for about 5 minutes at the conclusion of my section over DA, because I've got a few things I want to say about government and candidates and politicians. So I hope that y'all will bear with me just for those few. I brought my soapbox with me. I typically carry it with me everywhere I go, but tonight I made sure, because you know, the election campaign is always difficult on all the candidates, and it's very time consuming. But you get to the point where you've just had enough. And I've had enough, and I think you have too. So we'll talk about that later.
You're running for office believing you're a better alternative than the incumbent. Would you give